Tyler, not the best way to start a podcast, but we thought it was appropriate for us to meet tonight and say some words. Today we lost a legend in one Windham Rotunda, otherwise known as Bray Wyatt. We talked about how to open the show. We thought it appropriate to do it this way. I'm still trying to find the words, trying to find the right thing to say, and I don't know if there is a right thing to say in situations like this, but we'll do our best to honor his memory.
It's an incredibly tough day, Brad. I actually called you. We don't call each other very often. So I don't know if some of our listeners or viewers will relate to this, but if you get a call from someone you really love, who you don't call often, something either really good has happened or something really bad. And in this case, as you laid out, sadly, it was the latter. So I called you. You were still at school. And I could just tell based on your voice and how happy you sounded. I could tell that you hadn't seen the tweet or seen any of the text messages. And so I let you know about it, and I asked you if you were sitting down, and luckily you were. And I remember you said, I told you, man, Bray Wyatt passed away. Triple H just put out a tweet, and you said, shut up. And then you and I just went back and forth agreeing that we don't know what to say, but this is a really bad day, and let's record tonight because I don't think we're the only ones that loved Bray Wyatt, and it was important for us to celebrate Windham Rotunda. So to your point, Brad, I don't know how we want to start. I jotted down some notes in hopes of sounding coherent on this edition, but I know how much I enjoyed Bray Wyatt's work, which we'll get into, and I know how much he resonated with you. So I think I want to start with not necessarily Husky Harris or, my introduction to him going back to the sci-fi days of NXT. But part of the reason why I have such an affinity for Bray is because I saw you discover him in spring 2020. If you've listened to us, first of all, thank you. And you may know the infamous spring that was. Of course, we had a pandemic and it was just a very scary time for so many of us. But Brad, one of the memories I have from that time is you and I sharing our love of wrestling with each other. And Bray Wyatt, to me, what observing you rekindling your love for wrestling, it seemed to me that Bray Wyatt was that first wrestler who you got really attached to right off the bat. So I want to pass it to you. If you could think back to that time, what was it about Bray that resonated with you in such a huge way? Because again, this was spring 2020, heading into summer. So this was very much Firefly Funhouse, heading into the Fiend Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam. I want to pass it to you. What was it about Bray that captivated you to the point where you even got Freya a mask, right? I think you got it for yourself. You put this on Instagram. Great post. You got the Fiend mask for yourself, mask up, and then it ended up being Freya's, or maybe you all borrowed it. Just I want to hear all your thoughts on this. Talk to us.
Yeah, Freya. I bought the mask. I'll start there and then I'll work my way backwards. I bought the mask because, we needed masks, and I was like, I don't want to wear this MUSD district gray mask with the logo off to the side anymore, and those black Marana High School Tiger masks, they weren't even. There was like one of the ear loops was a little longer than the other side. So it was always a little bit off center, and I hated that. I don't know if you remember. I still have.
Yeah. This is my thinking face. I must have had one at some point.
You absolutely.
I don't think I used it. Perhaps I had the same issue as you. My face is just also an interesting shape, as well as my head. So I don't think the geometrics.
I don't have any cartilage to hold my mask up in my nose. So like a little bit of pressure there, and it's like.
So the Miranda High School and Miranda Unified provided masks were not the jam.
Well, the provided masks from the district were pretty good because they were like coned up, but the ones from the high school were like that jersey material.
Yes.
And they were flat.
Yes.
So there was no dimension to them. And they would just kind of fall off as soon as you started talking, which of course we had to do. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to order another mask because I'm kind of tired of using the same ones every day, going home, washing them, going home, washing them. the logos were starting to wear off and whatnot. And I was like, I love the Fiend, so I'm going to get me a Fiend mask. And I think it'll be great when kids walk in and I got this like gnarly mouth and stretched skin look when they walk in. I thought that would be really funny. Freya was terrified of that thing. She was like 2-3 years old at the time and absolutely terrified of it. But she loved putting it on and being the scary thing. She really liked it. Oh, that's that scary guy. And she would put the mask on and she really liked his entrance and stuff. She thought it was cool. Still afraid of it, but thought it was great. To your point, you, me, and previous GI guest Ben Anderson, our friend Ben, we're in a group chat talking wrestling, and one thing led to another, and I went, you know what? I remember all these things, but maybe I'm remembering them incorrectly. Let me check out the network. Got the WWE network because I had completed the internet at that point, so it was may as well find something that I love from my past and see if it's still good. It was great. And then I'm like, oh, we'll watch the modern product. And you were like, well, these are some people. I think you might like Bray Wyatt. You might like this person. You might like that person. And I found the Bray match because you told me you got to watch SummerSlam. Just go watch his entrance.
Yeah, that was the summer before. That was summer 2019. So that was already out. Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah. I'm sped up now.
So it was the summer right before it. It was
right. Yes.
Like 4 months, 5 months.
Good call. Prior. You're absolutely right.
So yeah, so it was pretty fresh. We were coming right out of the Royal Rumble, and right before WrestleMania is when the pandemic set in, and they shut the shows down. And that was my first WrestleMania I'd ever watched. So I had seen the Finn Balor match and the entrance and the holy shit chants coming from the crowd for an entrance in WWE. Incredible. It chills. Like if the crowd's that into it, there must be something right here. And I kind of love the idea of a scary Mr. Rogers character that has an alter ego that comes out and just kills dudes unless they're winning matches by DQ in a no DQ match, which is dreadful. But he was just so different. It reminded me sort of the 90s Undertaker and the Ministry of Darkness stuff, but fresher and much more entertaining. And the crowd was just into it. And I was like, this is different. I've never seen anything like this. The spooky stuff isn't for everybody. I'm fine with it in the WWE. I don't mind that in the WWE at all. I don't think it would work in AEW at all, but in WWE, it was just something new and something different. And the presentation was great. The video packages for Firefly Funhouse felt like must-see TV. And all the little hints at what were going to happen and the little Easter eggs, I loved all of that. He immediately captured me. He made me want to watch. And that era of SmackDown, I think it was in the Thunderdome, had just an absolute murderer's row of talent on the screen at all times. That was nuts, man. Like incredible. That was when Daniel Bryan was still there. And it was Daniel Bryan, Edge, AJ, Bray, Roman. It was just wild over there. And you had the role models, right? You had Sasha and Bailey, must-see TV, and Bray was a huge part of that. He might have been one of the centerpieces for that. Obviously, Roman was doing his thing, and it was early on, but Bray Wyatt was going after John Cena, and then it was the Randy Orton thing, and then suddenly the Fiend's on fire, and then he comes out in a box-like structure and sort of disappears after that. My interest waned after that. I didn't really care as much when Bray went away. Think about this year, Tyler. I guess last year now. The return of Bray Wyatt. Before we get to that, I want to know your thoughts because you've been a fan for much longer. You were probably watching for at least part of, if not all of, the cult leader Bray stuff, the Wyatt family, the disintegration of the Wyatt family, the very brief thing with Roman before the injury, and then the emergence of the Fiend. What are your memories of him, and why did you find, besides my love for him, what did you find so compelling about him?
He, particularly Swamp Bray. I put in my notes, Swamp Prophet Bray. he's just so unique and compelling. His delivery, the outfit. I don't know that every dude could pull off a Hawaiian shirt with the with the white pants. Brad, and it wasn't even giving Miami Vice Don Johnson vibes. It was his own,
Yes.
again, backwoods, swampy cult leader vibe, for lack of a better term. It was just so different. It was just compelling instantly. And you could just tell this was something really special that we hadn't seen before. And I would argue still haven't seen all these years later. I was really yearning for us to get that version of Bray back, even though we got some really interesting, creative characters out of his recent years, Fiend, and then his most recent run. But yeah, it was great. And back then, I would say many people consider this Bray's best match. There was that trios match, he and the Wyatt family against the Shield. I think that was on a pay-per-view. So there were just so many. When you add Rowan and Harper with him, there's just so much you can do with that. They were obviously, those dudes were tag team champs. Bray was going for singles gold. They even recruited Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan turned. Like it was just really, it had a lot of legs to it. So great workers, really menacing personas, and again, it was just so creative and so different that I was hooked on it. You can see behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, I have one of the old figures, and Bray Wyatt's really, he's going to stay with me for a long time, because I remember getting that figure actually for my father. This is Christmas, when I was broke, Brad. So I remember scrambling to go to Target. I think this was the day before Christmas, because I was really lacking on my gift getting. I've since improved, by the way, but back then I was just a hot mess, man. Shout out to everyone in my life who loved me and stood with me, because I didn't realize how much of a hot mess I was. But I went to Target the day before Christmas, and I didn't have a lot of money, so I just had to put whatever I could on the Target credit card. And there happened to be this Bray Wyatt figure, and I got it from my pops. And now we kind of like share figures. We don't really claim one is mine, one is yours. We just sort of trade off. But that's a kind of a personal connection. Is not only was I attracted to Swamp Bray early on, but I have this figure that I got from my dad, and that represents kind of a difficult period in my life. And yet wrestling and the Bray Wyatt characters of the world just gave me reason to hope, and gave me reason to just keep going, and provided an escape for me during some really difficult days. So I just love Bray Wyatt, Brad. You have the tees. I had, and the mask. I had some figures and other items. He was so special. So to see the news today, and since then, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com put out, with the blessing of the family, that Bray Wyatt suffered a heart attack. He was diagnosed with COVID, and that exacerbated, I guess, some pre-existing, cardiac or heart issues. And then he did suffer a fatal heart attack. So to me, in some ways, it kind of reminds me of a Kobe Bryant passing, if you will, that we just assume our loved ones, the entertainers we enjoy, we just assume that they're going to be around for decades and decades, and we're going to have the honor of seeing them progress into these later stages of their careers. Brad, how awesome would Bray Wyatt have been backstage or in an official creative role? I mean, he's
Unbelievable.
And we just assumed, okay, that's going to happen one day if he wants to stay in wrestling. So without kind of getting maybe to the end of our conversation here, yeah, Swamp Ray was amazing, man. The outfit, the promo delivery, even the in-ring work, especially from a trios perspective, before there was a trios division in wrestling, they just they checked a lot of my boxes and what I look for from a wrestling stable.
Yeah, he is. I'm not going to rank here. I always think that's just unfair and kind of weird, but he's definitely in the top all-time performers ever with a mic in their hand. I don't know if you put him up there with the in-ring performers, but in terms of telling a story and acting and being invested in that character himself and portraying that on TV, there's not a lot of people that I would put above him. That dude owned everything he did and did his damnedest to make it work. His promos when he came back they were incredible. They're all so good. And I wish it would have led to more. And then he got sick. But man, I can't help but think about Freya in that mask picture in particular, because, you know, he kind of meant a lot to me in a very strange way during a time of so much uncertainty, that I think he was a reason to watch stuff and give me structure when we didn't really have a lot of that, because it was like, oh, Fridays are for this, Mondays are for this, Wednesdays are for this. And, you know, I had a appointment viewing, and we had the basketball was in a bubble, but not right away. It took a while for them to get there. And there was just a lot of weirdness around that time. We got the Last Dance documentary. And the one thing that never really shut down is wrestling. We had wrestling, and Bray doing the vignettes. Honestly, the Firefly Funhouse match might be one of my favorite matches of all time. It's just so different. I love different. I like when people change things up and take risks, and hopefully it doesn't suck, because for every Firefly Funhouse match, we get a Texas Chainsaw Massacre match. So we got to balance them out.
Damn. Yeah. I prefer the Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah. But we also got like the Mountain Dew Pitch Black stuff, which elements of it were really cool. But we were laughing a couple of weeks ago at Uncle Howdy just absolutely
he gave us
in LA Knight by 400 feet.
He gave us the Uncle Howdy moment. Was that his last match?
Yeah, because the week after, the night after, he did a promo, and then he just sort of disappeared.
Wow, that was the last one.
They were hinting at maybe a Fiend return and all kinds of stuff. And I think we wanted Swamp Bray back, but
yeah, it was rumored that he was going to fight Bobby Lashley.
Yeah,
at WrestleMania LA. That would have been a really intriguing matchup.
Well, they were teasing it, right?
Yeah,
and then it just
didn't happen.
Nothing happened of it. They didn't mention what happened. My guess is that he got COVID and then went away to be sick and get better, and then just never came back. And I keep seeing pictures of him with his girls and his wife. And again, I keep going back to that picture of Freya, thinking, I just can't imagine what it's like to be in that family, or to be Amanda Huber right now. And, Eric Redbeard's out there somewhere. Hopefully he's got his people, and hopefully people are checking on him, because two of his closest friends were in that faction with him. So to be in the Wyatt family and to love Bray and to love Luke and Brody, and for them both to pass kind of under similar circumstances. It wasn't necessarily COVID that killed Brody Lee, but it was that disappearing from TV for a while because of an illness, and then just a sudden shock.
It's really eerie, right?
Yeah. And when I was looking at the birthdays, I was like, oh, I don't actually know how old he is. And it was May 23rd. My birthday's May 24th, 1987. Jess's birthday is in January. She was born in January of 87. So when I see that, I think, man, he's younger than Jess. He's 5 years younger than I am. Or I guess 4 and 300 plus days, whatever. He's barely started. And I just feel so bad for his family and his friends.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm at, having turned 30, having been the younger statesman of GI, if I can. I learned a lot from you, man. And just thinking about my own journey now, turning 30, I think that so much of my mindset is, A, I hear the best years are yet to come, which is a huge blessing if true. And B, A can be true while B can also be true. And point B is that's not guaranteed to us. Like, I hope I see 31 and 35 and 40 and so on and so forth. And I hope I am able to get all these life accomplishments, family, home, great job, etc. but none of it's promised to us, Brad. We saw that through obviously Brody Lee and our conversations around his passing, and now for his Wyatt family brethren, the leader of the group, Bray Wyatt, to your point, to also, you know, pass in what feels like a really familiar way. To me, it's just a reminder of how fragile all of this is, and in terms of how we can help. A, shop WWE. I think it was reported by PW Insider that Bray Wyatt merch proceeds are going to go to his family. So, like you said, obviously thoughts out to JoJo and company. And then, secondly, you're a big believer in this, Brad. We got to give flowers to folks while they're still here, particularly the people that are not just on our screens, but the people who are in our phones, our friends, our coworkers, our family members, our teachers, dare I say. That's so important. So for me, this is just another reminder to let people know how much they mean to you. I know it's said a lot. I know we'll see it on Pinterest and other places, but man, as I just, you know, enter this decade in my life, Bray Wyatt to me is a reminder of chase your art and also tell people how much they mean to you, because you don't know when they're going to be gone.
I was pulling up Swerve's tweet because I saw it and immediately resonated with me.
Yes.
We need to stop only coming together when we lose someone. And
that's a bar.
It's to your point. We got to give flowers to the living. We gotta do it while we can.
We do. And
not every day is guaranteed.
No, it's not. And I saw, if we can stick with the Swerve in our glory, since we're never getting that match, Brad. I've accepted it. I was talking with my dad about that actually yesterday, and he didn't even care. I think he's even just resigned to it, which makes me sad. But to your point, great Swerve words. Keith Lee also put out on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it, the toughest part of this industry is when you bond with people and then that bond is severed unexpectedly. R.I.P. brother. I was rooting for you just like you did for me. I already missed you, but it's painful. Safe journey, my man. So just an outpouring of love and support. Brad, it was clear to me that not only did you and I love Bray Wyatt, but his colleagues did. This is just another case of someone who was just beloved and respected and admired. You had Amanda Huber, as you said. You had The Rock. You had Big E mentioning how Bray Wyatt helped him break in the business. It's just like, man, this was another guy who was not just an amazing artist, but just seemed like a really good dude who no one had anything bad to say about. Yeah. Do you know how over it, how great of a person you have to be? How much of a shoot baby face when you're one of those people that no one has anything bad to say about you? That's so inspiring to me.
Yeah, shout out to Merge for bringing this to our attention. But I saw the Miro video on Instagram, and
I haven't seen that yet. Shout out to him.
It's great. I guess when Miro was breaking into the business, he had a tryout, and Triple H wanted, I think it was Triple H wanted Bray Husky at the time to just do all these moves on Miro. So Miro just had to take cannonball after cannonball after cannonball after cannonball from him. And then obviously he didn't get accepted into WWE right away, but he came back like a year later or a while later. I can't remember what the exact timeline was. And he walked in and he was like, well, nobody's going to remember me here. It was so long ago. And Bray was like, hey, I remember you. You're the guy that let me do all those moves on you in the ring. And he said it just meant so much to him because he was warned that it's cutthroat and everybody's out to get you and all this stuff. And Bray made him feel welcome. And that's what the kind of the attitude for Bray has been, is that he just made people feel welcome.
Yeah. Alexa Bliss mentioned that as well. Obviously they had a working relationship, and unfortunately some of the fan base really gave Alexa Bliss a hard time when the character Bray Wyatt wasn't doing so well on screen. Yeah, this guy was just incredible. If I can mention here, Brad, you brought up Extreme Rules 2022. That re-debut appeared on my timeline over the weekend, which again just makes this even more sad. It appeared over the weekend. I don't think I retweeted it, but I certainly watched it. when you had all of the Firefly Funhouse puppets come to life and they were in the arena and the camera panned to one and then the other and then the other.
Good.
Yes, and we didn't know if we were going to get Bray Wyatt back in wrestling. I think that Extreme Rules conclusion was one of the sneaky best moments of 2022. I forget where we put it on our year-end episode or how much time we devoted to it, but it was just the entrance coming through the door, the blue light that was clearly an ode to Brody Lee. It's all so special. And even though Bray Wyatt's art and his creativity just seemed to be killed and killed and killed, he brought this idea. It ended up not getting booked properly. He brought up another character. It ended up not getting booked properly. The fact that he didn't let that stymie him. He kept going. He kept using art. He kept just being creative. It's inspiring to me, Brad, for what we do with GI, for what I do in my professional world, just not letting other people impact how you view your own worth or the worth of your art. It's so inspiring to me. Bray Wyatt is just, to me, he's really more than a wrestler, Brad. His story is inspirational. This dude goes from Husky Harris on NXT he ends up being one of the most beloved wrestlers of our generation. It's a story of perseverance. It's a story, again, of creativity and just all the great things that can come in your life if you treat people well and commit to your craft. So we're going to miss him. And I just feel really privileged to have watched him and for Bray to have been a really pivotal part of our relationship, frankly. Mm-hmm. It means a lot to me.
Well said. I don't really have much to add to that. I don't know that I should, but I do want to say that one of the things that resonated with me because of Bray is that he was open. He was open with his mental health struggles. And for a guy like that, who plays an unstoppable murder clown demon from hell, that was a cult leader, that was all of these strong things, to be vulnerable and open and say, yeah, I've been struggling after losing several loved ones kind of in a row, in a succession, that meant a lot. And I kind of feel like that opened it up for other people to be open about their struggles. Dax Harwood, even Ryan Nemeth, he put that documentary together, that very brief documentary about mental health and the importance of being okay. And I feel like his legacy, to your point, extends far beyond what happened in the ring. His story alone is inspirational. His ability to come up, be knocked down, get back up, be knocked down, get back up, be kicked out, come back in.
Talk to him, Brad. I mean, these are facts, man.
One of my favorite moments in wrestling, one of my favorite brief moments in wrestling history, Bray Wyatt gave us the D Wade with Roman Reigns as LeBron. We got the finger point spear.
Yeah, that's a great comp.
It's the flash arms out picture, man. Like we got that from Bray Wyatt and Roman. That was such
TUFF tough.
That's hell yes.
That was great.
Oh, it's incredible.
You mentioned the Fiend debut at SummerSlam. Like, just think back to the first time you saw that entrance, you heard that music. How many times have you and I shared that song with each other via Apple Music? Not that much anymore, but I would say from 2020 to 2021, it was probably a quarterly occurrence where we would just swap it with each other.
Yeah, I hope to your point, I hope that WWE somehow keeps that legacy going. I hope that there's some way to honor him. And I hope it's with his other characters, maybe not this most current iteration, but I have no idea what this current character meant to Bray. For all I know, this means more to him than any of the other characters he's ever done. If so, keep it that. We just don't know what it's called. It's just Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy, and then whatever vampire Blizzard Man Bray was with all the body paint. We never really got a name for that, and I was looking forward to finding out more about the lore because I enjoy that stuff. Because we don't get it anywhere else. Some people are like, I don't want that in my wrestling. It's like, then watch literally everything else. It's the only place that it exists. Relax. And not all of it has to be for you. And exactly.
He wasn't for everyone, and that's okay.
And that's okay. Yes. Wrestling is options. I like AEW a lot. I love the sports part a lot. I don't love all the stories happening in WWE, and they feel a little too formulaic for me sometimes. And Bray didn't. Bray was so different. I miss just this past episode we were talking, and I said I miss the backstage hints where there's stuff happening in the background, and that was happening. Excuse me, all over the place with the Bray Wyatt QR codes and the little Wyatt butterfly moth thing in the corners, and just random stuff occurring, and that was all because Bray was a thing. That whole entity was just so different. I'm gonna miss that because he changed WWE. He changed the way that I think WWE is produced. He changed the landscape of professional wrestling, not by himself, but through his creativity and through that platform, and gave us something that maybe we weren't missing, but that a lot of people latched onto because it was so different and so unique and so great. Master storyteller, master performer, by all accounts, an incredible person, and a great friend, a beloved father. I'm sure we could go on and on here, but some people, I think, get their flowers after they're gone, and we point out all of the flaws in their life while giving them their flowers. And by all accounts, Bray Wyatt doesn't have those kinds of things in his profession. And that's pretty remarkable to be able to say in the professional wrestling world.
Well said, my friend. I think we should conclude with some of Bray Wyatt's words. So he tweeted this on August 7th, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling is not a love story. It's a fairy tale for masochists, a comedy for people who criticize punchlines, a fantasy most can understand, a spectacle no one can deny. Lines are blurred, heroes are villains, budgets are cut, business is business. But it can also be a land where dead men walk, where honor makes you elite. That's tough. I see you, Bray. Where demons run for office, and rock bottom is a reason to rejoice. Whoa, it's an escape, a reason to point the blame at anyone but yourself for 2 to 3 hours, an excuse to be a kid again, and nothing matters except the moment we are in. Wrestling is not a love story. It's much more. It's hope. And in a world surrounded in hate, greed, and violence, a world where closure may never come, we all know a place that has hot and cold hope on tap, for better or for worse. Thank you all so much for joining us for this special episode of GI. Stay tuned. We're going to be back with you on Monday. We're going to discuss AEW All in London. Of course, we'll touch on the latest in WWE and pop culture and much, much more. You can follow us on Twitter or X or whatever you're choosing to call it at GIPod19. Brad is on there at Winduster. You can also find me at Tyler J. McDowell. We appreciate you, and we hope you'll join us again for the next edition of GI.